quite a bit of festivity, and I see Bill Falloon is conversing with some of the guests. Let's join them. Sorry for the interruption, gentlemen. Bill, what are your thoughts with regard to this opening today?
Well, the reason I'm so impressed is, number one, the quality of the people who have attended. We've got some really brilliant individuals who've shown up, in some cases out of nowhere. In some cases, I've known these people for over 30 years, but they've decided to show up and attend the first service of the Church of Perpetual Life. And there's going to be many others. And the idea is to share information, life-saving information that would otherwise be forgotten. And that's the real term for it, forgotten. It comes to the press sometimes one day, it appears in a medical journal for a little while, and then the doctors just ignore it, and the patients die needlessly. So people like this, just showing up out of nowhere, I think it's fantastic.
I would agree, and I had this discussion only today with a student. We were reviewing the progression and the evolution of things as basic as the resting metabolic rate, how we measured them for a long time, we dropped them when chemical assays became available, and now they're back in the mainstream research to measure energy expenditure and fuel source. We use it for lots of other things and for a while they were just discarded by most hospitals. And when I trained, we learned to do those things. But there's so many things that are in the literature. And that's the mistake that many professors make, is they only go back about 10 years in their literature. And that's not nearly long enough to discover the things that have been almost forgotten. And you know, things like you were speaking earlier about the ACEs there, the enzymes for aging, and apoptosis. That's extremely important work. And I've been lecturing on that for 25 years in my lectures. Recently, the FDA last week banned trans fatty acids. I first lectured on trans fatty acids in September of 1981.
Wow.
And because I know the biochemistry that they don't have, that you have no way of metabolizing, they're more atherogenic than cholesterol.
It's frightening how many people are in cemeteries right now because and unfortunately we've all consumed more trans fats than what we'd like. They're just out there. They're ubiquitous.
They had to make artificial butter out of oil, edible oils. In order to make it look like butter, they put a dye in it, which we no longer take, to give it the yellowish color, and they hydrogenated it to give the trans fatty acids, because that's a chemical process, not a biological process.
The food industry has poisoned the people of this country, and you go from sugar, you go through just about what almost everyone normally eats, and it's toxic. And one of the purposes of this church, we're going to put on presentations about what foods are good for you to prevent disease and what foods cause disease. And I think if people see maybe on one side of the screen the good stuff and the other side the bad stuff, maybe psychologically they'll start to veer away from maybe something they enjoy the taste of, but it's going to create chronic problems.
Things like high fructose.
Big time. Big
Major cause of cardiovascular disease.
I mean, it's just so prevalent in our diets. The wrong kind of food consumption is rapidly overtaking cigarette smoking as the leading preventable cause of death, and that's not recognized enough. And a lot of it's just politics. The people who make these dangerous foods don't want the world to know about it.
We wanted to see smoking become less significant, but not that way.
Yeah, that's a good way of stating it.
This certainly is the most interesting discussion, but I think we have to continue it in a quieter setting in the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I look forward to it.
With us now is Danielle Baker. What brings you to this event today?
Well, I just signed up with the Cryonics Institute a year ago, and I'm just a cryonics enthusiast. So I just like to show up and meet with the cryonics community whenever I can.
How do you think Bill did with his speech tonight?
I thought it was great. I learned a lot of things that hopefully I'll be able to pass on to my grandmother that has cancer, improve her quality of life, and hopefully her recovery from her cancer treatments.
Well, I think that's most commendable, and I wish your grandmother and you the very best.
All right. Thank you.